Good afternoon. My name is Alan Anderson. I'm Assistant Vice President for University Partnerships at Emory University. And I'm here to welcome you to tonight's discussion, how Metro Atlanta is striving to become a more economically just and inclusive community. This evening, we have the opportunity to bring three exceptional panelists together from the region, and they will share their insights on how their efforts are improving economic access and opportunity for historically underrepresented business enterprises. But before we go through that, I have an opportunity to go over some ground rules for today. This event is being recorded. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A function. So if you have questions, feel free to enter them there. Also, the opportunity will occur at the end of this discussion to be able to go over those questions if time is allowed. Again, for some context, a couple of weeks ago, Emory University had the opportunity to have a discussion and a lecture by Maggie Anderson, and her focus was on economic unity. And this is part 2 of what is a 4-part series focused on economic empowerment and inclusion, building on Dr. King's legacy. So now, again, thank you for the opportunity to present to you, and we're going to bring our panelists on for a really rich discussion. First, I'd like to bring on Stacey Key, Donna Ennis, and Leona Barr-Davenport. Let's see if Leona, there she is. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So thank you all again for being here today. And, as we start this discussion, I really want to make sure that the audience gets an opportunity to get to know you. So if you could all briefly start with, your name, where you work, and give a little bit of an overview of your background. So first I'll start with Stacey. Floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Alan. And first of all, I like to say congratulations to Emory for having the vision and foresight of pulling together a panel of these impressive women in celebration of Black History Month. And also kudos to you for your leadership in this whole forum. So
thank you.
I'm Stacey Key, as Alan said. I'm the president and CEO of the Georgia Minority Supplier Development Council, GMSDC. GMSDC is Georgia's leading supplier diversity organization. GMSDC was founded by a small but progressive group of Atlanta corporations, all the ones you know and love, the Georgia Power, the Coca-Cola Company, who saw the need to diversify their global supply chains in 1975. Our work is built on 4 pillars of what we call the GMSDC promise. We certify minority business enterprise and validate that they're owned, managed, and controlled by an ethnic minority. We develop our MBEs by helping them identify any gaps or opportunities for growth through training, mentoring, workshops, and events. We connect them to corporations and government entities who need their goods and services, and then we advocate on behalf of our community in the halls of government and in the marketplace. I come from 20 years of experience in major corporations, experience at IBM, Bell South, now AT&T, Samsung, and Schlumberger. I've also run a family business for many years. My background helps me to understand both sides of the supply chain equation, having both being the buyer and the seller for many years. This work is a passion for me, what I do. I love what I do every single day. There's no greater joy in creating jobs and economic wealth in the minority business community. Not to mention, I get to work with these 2 phenomenal women that are on this panel, Leona Barr-Davenport and Donna Ennis.
Thank you, Stacey. Leona?
Hi. Thank you, Alan. As Stacey has already said, thank you so much for inviting us. I'm Leona Barr-Davenport, President and CEO of the Atlanta Business League, and it is my honor to be with you today. The Atlanta Business League is a business organization focused on the growth and development of African-American business owners here in metropolitan Atlanta. I'm excited that we are celebrating our 88th anniversary this year. I will say that we have been around much longer than that, because in 1906, we hosted the National Negro the National Negro Business League Conference here in Metro Atlanta. So we have been around for quite a while. So that is my Black history for today. But in celebrating the organization and its history and my involvement as president and CEO, our programming involves quite a bit of networking, net weaving, meetings, connections that if you are in our database, then you will be able to be invited to some of those activities. So thank you again, Alan, for inviting me and the Atlanta Business League today.
Thank you, Leona. Donna?
Oh, thank you so much. And as with Stacey and Leona, thank you so much, Alan and Emory University, for hosting this important conversation. My name is Donna Ennis, and as of January 1, I am the Director of Diversity Engagement and Program Development for the Georgia Tech Enterprise Innovation Institute, known as EI2. So I'll refer to that a couple of times. But EI2 is one of the nation's oldest, largest economic development, university-based economic development organization that's been around since the late 50s. Also, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, Alan, as we talk about large organizations. But also I wear the hat of director of the Atlanta Minority Business Development Agency, or MBDA, Business Center, and the Atlanta MBDA Advanced Manufacturing Center. And the MBDA is out of the Department of Commerce. It has been around again since the late 50s. It is the only federal agency that was established to grow and strengthen minority-owned businesses. We've had the Business Center at Georgia Tech since 2004. And in 2016, we launched the Advanced Manufacturing Center to focus on minority-owned manufacturers. We have a litany of programs under the Enterprise Innovation Institute umbrella. Our MBDA centers are two of them, but many of you may be familiar with the Advanced Technology Development Center, the Georgia Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program, the PTAC, which is the Procurement Technical Assistance Program, among others. So we've been in the economic development game for quite some time. I have over 30 years of experience. I started in manufacturing at Georgia Tech with their programs. And as I said before, we bought the MBDA Center in 2004. So I'm really excited to be here today with these ladies. And I know we have a lot to talk about. So let's start.
Excellent. Appreciate this, Donna. And I appreciate all of your background. And I think that's the reason why we brought you here today, because you have enormous amount of background, not only from your own professional careers, but also for the organizations that have a lot of history that you've worked with. So let's jump into some questions. The first question I have, and I actually like an opportunity for each of you to speak on this particular question. And we'll start first with Stacey, but the main question I wanted to know is, how are you working with larger organizations, large companies, large firms to create access and develop partnerships with diverse businesses in your work? Because I think one of the things that we really want to make sure that we're understanding here at Emory is we want to open things up. We want to create more opportunity, and we want to know how other people have been doing it. So again, I'll start with you, Stacey. You're muted, Stacey. Sorry about that.
There we go. Perfect. And Alan, that's what we do every single day. Our community is comprised of some 400 corporations who either are headquartered in Georgia or have a significant presence here. We serve over 800 minority businesses who represent every possible dynamic, every size, every scope, every industry, every category. Our organization exists to help match our corporations and minority businesses to form business partnerships. That's all we do every single day. Every workshop, conference, meeting, activity that we put on is focused on finding opportunities and linking them with a certified minority business to get the job done. We host MBE presentations that expose companies to the capabilities of our MBEs. We have matchmaking events. We have individual procurement conferences. All of our corporate partners put on workshops on how to do business. Everything that we do is centered around connecting certified minority businesses to corporate supply chains to do business. Our entire portfolio is designed as a win-win partnership for Georgia corporations and connecting them with our capable minority businesses. So what you said, that's what we do every single day. And that's what we've been doing for 45 years. We're connecting corporations to get the job done. Last year, $7 billion worth of spend in minority businesses in this state. Over 35,000 of their employees of our minority businesses are certified minority businesses, 55,000 jobs. It's all about creating jobs and opportunities today. We're in the middle of a pandemic, as you know, so the focus is around opportunities and connecting minority businesses to those opportunities in the marketplace.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Leona? Yeah.
Same question.
Yeah, same question. And I wanted to think, Stacey talked about, 8 billion over the whole state. I'd love to hear, what are some of the efforts that are happening in Atlanta that you've been spearheading in your work?
Sure. The Atlanta Business League is a metropolitan-based membership organization. Our network of members is diverse, ranging from independent contractors to Black-owned companies that have 100 to 500 employees. Major corporations, educational institutions, executives, professionals are all members of the Atlanta Business League. Our mission, as I mentioned in my opening, is to encourage the growth and development of African-American business owners in Metro Atlanta. In order to fulfill that mission, it is critical that we recruit corporations into the Atlanta Business League. Through our programming, we connect with corporate CEOs, supply diversity representatives, as well as community affairs representatives. And our relationship with that group really helps us in making the connection for our business owners. The League creates opportunities to connect large organizations with Black CEOs also. We host initiatives such as our Tuesday Talks with ABL CEOs, and through that initiative, we invite CEOs to host 10 to 12 or 20 Atlanta Business League members in a roundtable fashion where the CEO talks about the industry, they talk a little about themselves, they will bring someone in from their sales and purchasing department to talk about the opportunities that are within their companies. And all of our programming has a tie back to relationship building. So I really like to say that our business is a people-to-people connection. And we're looking to create a win-win-win with everything that we do. And those three wins, the win for the Atlanta Business League members, a win for our the organization as a whole, and a win for the stakeholders who are a part and who are our cheerleaders, if you will, of the organization.
That's excellent. I like that. Win, win, win. Everybody's, and we talked a lot about that benefit that everyone has. And so it's good to hear that. So Donna, I'd love to hear, you talked about higher education as a part of your connection, and obviously Emory is a higher ed institution. And so I'd love to hear about some of the work that you've been doing.
So one of the things that I think that we should note here is that there's the common thread for all of our organizations is connections and relationships and networking. So you'll find probably in all of our answers that there's going to be that thread running through what we do. We do connect. It is also one of our pillars. One of the things about being in higher ed too is in this business and in this communities is being intentional. And I think, when you want to work with large organizations, you really have to be intentional about what it is you're trying to accomplish with the organization. So at Georgia Tech and at the Enterprise Innovation Institute, as I said before, it is one of the oldest, largest university-based economic development programs. I like to tell a story, if I have any Georgia Tech folks on the line, but that I've heard over the years of how our engineers used to go out when we had the agricultural industry. They used to go out to the farmers and bring new technology, irrigation systems, planting systems, so we've been tied to the community and developing through economic development for quite some time. The MBDA program is a program that is intentional with working with not only corporations, and Stacey and Leona's program is the same. We don't only work with corporations, but we also work with federal agencies, state and local governments. We have our hands, if you will, in the pot of quite a few organizations. In fact, I'm a mentor at the Start Me program over at Emory University. I'm a mentor this year, I've been one in 2019 as well. So we are in the community working with large organizations all the time. And then really quickly, I would like to just talk about one or two intentional ways that somebody like Emory can look at this programs. You don't have to always develop your own program. So Stacey and Leona, both their organizations are partners of ours. They have programming, they have capacity building, which is one of our pillars. So I don't find that we have the need to develop a program. If we're coaching our companies and they need to level up or build capacity, I say, well, hey, put them in go to the Georgia Mentor Protege Connection program that GMSC has, or enroll in a level up program that the Atlanta Business League now has. We put 6 companies through Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur Access Network for Black and Latinx companies. They just started that program. And the Inner City Capital Connections, which is a national program around capital, just came to town recently, and we had 19 companies go through that program. So part of being working in an organization like Georgia Tech is to leverage the resources. I mean, we have plenty of resources. We have manufacturing companies. We have a manufacturing program, 2 manufacturing programs at Georgia Tech. So we put our companies over there. And so I would say to folks at Emory, just be really intentional about what it is you want to do and how you can make that impact through the programming.
That's excellent. I had a brief follow-up that's kind of related to this for all of you. And if you were to maybe cite one example of an exceptional partnership that you were able to create, what maybe a success story that you could share briefly, it would be great to hear that, because again, I think there's always power in being able for people to kind of see what it's really like and how it all comes together. And I heard a little bit in Leona's comment around the right people being at the table to kind of make those relationships work. So yeah, if each of you, and I'll start with Stacey, if you could talk about, maybe an example of something, it's like, hey, this partnership was exactly the kind of thing that we're really proud of and we can celebrate.
And so, Alan, I think there are multiple examples. For example, Leona and I and others work together every year on a financial summit with the Federal Reserve. We all come together, and there's about 7 or 8 at least organizations. If we're doing a financial summit, why do we all have to do one? Donna and Donna and the whole MBDA Center is an incredible partner for coaching and mentoring. I mean, there's nothing better. We partner with Donna, we partner with the SBDC network. They are incredible partners. We couldn't do what we do without partnerships. It's just not possible. And so because of the partnerships and because of these strong organizations, there is such a rich ecosystem in Atlanta of resources that help small business, whether you, ABL, I've been a member and supported the Atlanta Business League, MBDA Center. You have got any entrepreneur or anyone, a small business in this market has got the resources they need to help their business grow, regardless of the organization that they're part of. Both of these ladies have been great partners over the years, and we will continue those partnerships in 2021.
Excellent. Leona?
Yes, and thank you for those comments, Stacey. And Stacey hit the nail on the head, Alan. When we look at, you can't exist in this environment without touching each other. And I think that that's critical. And what it says is that we're doing the right things. And it takes a village to do it. One of the partnerships that I would talk about, I guess, in the most recent one is that it's still in it's still working, it's still moving forward. The Atlanta Business League partnered with Delta Airlines in creating the ABL Take Your Business to the Next Level program. And that program is designed to help build capacity for business owners. Some of them may be stuck at a certain point. And in some instances, what they need may not be major. They may have what they need, but we've brought together coaches, mentors, we call them industry specialists, to actually mentor and to teach and train these business owners. We have 16 that are in our inaugural class. And I will share with you what is really exciting. Recently, one of the businesses in the cohort needed something and she needed it quickly. And I couldn't respond to it. But one of the industry specialists said, I'll handle that. And so they came together to coach this business through the problem, which really helped them to really reimagine their business and their focus on their business. So if I were to think recently about a success, that really stands out for me, because this business owner was really at her wit's end, and they just put her back on track. And sometimes it's just a simple, redirect. In fact, one of the industry specialists made a statement. He said that pivot is the big word right now. He said, well, everyone doesn't need to pivot. Some people just need to swivel. Mm-hmm. Powerful statement. And I love it. And the swivel, he said, only takes a gradual move. Pivot means you do a 360.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Donna?
So that's a good question, because we have so many successful partnerships. One of the things I wanted to point out, and if I may, is that we live here in Atlanta area and in Georgia in a really thriving atmosphere of ecosystems. And so I think it's important when we talk about successful partnerships, that these partnerships reside inside of an ecosystem that is constantly thriving and moving and shaking and helping companies. Our most recent partnership has been with Microsoft. Microsoft is putting up a technology center. They came to us. We have a program called Start to Build that we developed out of a need for our more mature construction specialty trade contractors to build relationships with general contractors. And so we've been running the program since 2018 with, about $15, $16 million in results. And Microsoft said, well, they're coming to town, they're building this technology center. How can we help you? And so we brought them together with about 25 companies, 35 people, and they just went through the project. And as a result, we've got companies working on the project. And so I think Stacey and Leona can testify and agree that, we're really passionate about what we do, and we're not in a fluff business. So, we are really about ensuring and helping our companies, secure opportunities, get capital, build, their businesses, because we know that minority businesses tend to hire from the communities. They put their money back in the community. So I think, just keep in mind for Emory that there is this thriving, and actually Emory's a part of that, this thriving ecosystem that exists out here.
No, I appreciate that. Go ahead.
Alan,
yeah.
I want to mention one partnership that made me think of this that I did not share. We recently formed a partnership with several of the HBCU colleges and launching an internship program for students to be partner with a minority business for an internship. Mm-hmm. They often, students often go into, corporate America, every corporation we know and love, but now is an opportunity for them to do an internship to get the true experience of it being in an entrepreneurial enterprise. We're going to be kicking that off in March with Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark. So really excited about the possibilities of that. And then incorporating some soft skills around that as part of the curriculum, part of the internship, where we've got leadership and communication and financial management, just to be sure our students are equipped and they have what they need to be successful. So really excited about the launch of that coming up in March.
That is excellent. Leona, did you
Yeah,
have
I'm
something?
glad Stacy mentioned the students because we all do a lot. We have an initiative called our Student Business Shadow Project. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we're either in our 12th or 13th year. And that program is designed to introduce high school level students to Black-owned business owners and professionals. And I want to thank Donna because her organization has been very supportive of this initiative. So thank you for that. But they get a chance to go in to Black-owned businesses for 6 weeks and shadow the CEO and or top level management. And the goal is to introduce them to entrepreneurship. Some of them may or may not be interested, but it gives them a perspective that they may not have had. And we've had a continuous group of business owners that each year come back and say, where's my student? I'm looking forward to getting my student. And Thomas W. Dortch, TWD Incorporated, has been one of those companies that has utilized our program for years. The King Center has utilized the program for years. All-in-One Security, Mary Parker has utilized the program for years. And what is great about those programs is not only that the students are introduced to entrepreneurship, Black business owners, but in many instances, in some instances, they have landed scholarships as a result of it. Some of them have begun to think differently about these businesses that they may not have really had an idea of what it did. And I will give you one business that many folks may not think about. One of our students hesitated when we wanted to pair him with the Willie A. Watkins Funeral Home. But what he had to learn was that the funeral home business is really a customer service business. The rest of it is just a byproduct. So we've introduced them to some areas that they may not have known. But Stacey, again, thank you for mentioning the students because that wasn't on my mind. But that's an area where we could find partnerships with Emory. Correct. And I know we're typically focus on Black business as a rule, but I think that's where we could find some good synergy also with an Emory.
Well, I was going to add too, Leona, to that point about Emory. It's we at Georgia Tech, since we're paying apples to apples, Emory to Georgia Tech, we have a rich student population, co-op programs, internship programs. And we all use co-ops and or internships in our programming at the Enterprise Innovation Institute and all throughout the university. But what I wanted to say in relationship to Stacey and Leona, to Emory, that this would be a good opportunity to look into the Emory student body and see where your entrepreneurs are and connect in with Stacey and Leona and even myself, because we hire students as well, to see if there's a way to put them with, with a minority business or a Black business, so that they can gain that experience as well. And by the way, it doesn't have to necessarily be a Black student either. So,
absolutely,
I think that, we are a big community. And so I've had diversity in my student pool as well. So, so I think that that's a good opportunity for Emory to reach out to our organizations and other organizations who use students and give your students an opportunity to connect into the community and to our businesses that way.
Wow, so this is great. I appreciate hearing all of this great feedback and great ideas, and hopefully those in the audience also are enjoying what they're hearing. One note before we transition to the next question. If you have questions in the audience, feel free to put them in the chat and one of or in the Q&A. And one of the questions that actually came up is a little bit about where we were going to go in our next question, which is recognizing that we're in a global pandemic. Ordinarily, we'd be all in person, right? We'd be sitting around some table or some place together having this conversation with an audience in front of ourselves. And the reality is, really, since nearly a year ago, that all changed for us. And as you know, our community's been impacted, and as often the case with any trouble that we face in the world, it automatically disproportionately impacts communities of color. And so with that, I'm curious to know, what are some of the new and innovative ways in which you've worked with firms to create opportunities for those small, diverse businesses in the region? And so with that, I'll start again with Stacey.
So Alan, I would tell you, all we do, our mission is to connect minority businesses to supply chains. But right now, we're even more intentional about that action because so many minority businesses are struggling. The number one thing you can help them with is an opportunity, business. So everything else is great, but everybody needs business. And so one of the, our theme this year is opportunity reimagined, because the world has changed. It is not the same. Opportunities are in different places. I like the swirl, Leona, the pivot and the swirl.
Swivel.
It's the swivel. I like that. I'm going to use the swivel and the swirl. And many businesses are pivoting, swivel and swirling.
They just trying to move, just moving forward.
That's just moving. Yeah, that's right. And so one of the things that we've done, we normally have a annual conference, Alan. We have it in September. Last year, we're very fortunate to have it in the middle of a Minority Business Opportunity Week that was declared by the governor. But now we've gone to a quarterly model. We can't wait. We're doing individual procurement conferences with corporations. MBEs doing business with each other. That's the low hanging fruit. Donna and I are talking about the federal, local, and state level and the execution of that. So we're looking at opportunities in every corner. I'm asking my corporations, let's look at the business and see where there's an opportunity that wasn't reimagined, that you didn't think about before that we can take advantage of. So it's all hands on deck around business and opportunity for us. We're being more spontaneous, more intentional, and it's happening. February 25th is our first one for this year. We normally have it September. We're doing them quarterly. We're doing conferences with corporations, 3 to 4 a month. I mean, we've got to bring business to the table to help the businesses grow. So we're doing it differently. We're doing ideation sessions actually, where we're talking about the retail industry, the transportation and logistics. Opportunities are in different places. So we're doing ideation sessions with the corporations and with the business owners to talk about the new solutions that need to be developed as a result of this new environment.
Wow, that is impressive. Leona?
So when we think about COVID, I have to just back up and set the stage for what everyone already knows. When we really realized that COVID was real, it was in March of last year. And we had to reschedule a conference that we typically have and schedule for April 17th. So we, postponed it. And we realized that our members needed to hear from us. So we started a series called the ABL Weekly COVID-19 Issues and Opportunities series. Long name, but it explains everything that was being done. And so we hosted a couple of those sessions. And then we started to hear from other people, and we also realized that all of our businesses needed to hear what was being said, because we were bringing in speakers from corporations and organizations from across Metro Atlanta to talk about the CARES Act and things of that nature. So we engaged everyone to be a part of that. So NonStop, our first session was the end of March. We hosted that session April, June, July, and then we shifted to the conference that we had to postpone in August. But one of the things, what we had to do immediately was just embrace technology, embrace it like we never had before. We knew technology, but we came to realize we didn't know technology. We didn't know, as the kids say, jack, until COVID hit. And so we embraced it and began to host those series on a regular basis. And what we found was that we had thousands of companies that were logging in on a weekly basis to hear what we had to say. And one of our corporate partners literally came to us and said, we didn't know what to do until we saw what you were doing. And then they began to host their own series for their network of diverse business owners. So, I'm proud to say that we led the charge in that space. So we've partnered with organizations to provide services to small and diverse businesses across Metro Atlanta. I mentioned Delta Airlines earlier with our next level. That training was supposed to start in 19, but it was postponed, and I think it was in divine order that it was postponed because we realize now that training needed to start in 20 with everything that was going on with COVID. So we kicked that off. We're currently working on initiatives with UPS and Georgia Power, so you all will hear more about that in the coming weeks. On a weekly basis, we obtain business opportunities from some of our partners, such as Grady Health System. They share their business opportunities with us. MARTA does the same thing. We send that information out to our members to keep them abreast of the opportunities that are in the marketplace. We realize they can't be every place, but if we can be in some of those areas where they aren't, then we can at least share that information. We also share jobs and opportunities for people to go to work also. Another piece that we did last year that we're going to repeat this year, it was our PPP push for small biz. And I want to thank Stacey and Donna for being a part of this. While all the businesses were trying to figure out how to get the CARES Act dollars and the PPP funds, there were some business owners that did not realize that they were eligible and just did not apply. So we came together, 12 organizations, including the Atlanta Business League. We identified 40 volunteers, and in a 3-day push, we helped over 230 businesses to either apply for the PPP funds in order to help keep their businesses afloat, or they knew why they could not get the dollars, which really set the tone for them to make some changes going forward. And our hope is that some of what we did last year will help has helped some of those businesses this year. Now, we will be doing that again in March. So we will share that information. And one of the highlights of that at the end, because they were volunteers, the organizations were volunteers, the financial specialists were volunteers, the banks were volunteers. We could not pay them, but we spoke with Grady Health System, and they were so excited that the organizations that they support already were working together, that we did a thank you ad that was sponsored by Grady Health System to include photos and bios of all of the volunteers, the organization, and we just blasted that out into the marketplace. And it was just really productive, but also something that made people feel good in knowing that they were not alone and that there was help there for them.
Wow, that's a lot. Very, very impressive to hear. Donna?
So I think when I think about innovative ways, the question, what I know, what happened is that we all had to just change the way we did business, period. I'm listening to Stacey and Leona, and I had a pat answer at first, but listening to them, what resonated to me is that we really didn't stop doing what we've already been doing and always do. We just started doing it differently, okay? Because we had to respond to the technology. We had to respond to a virtual world. We had to, respond to companies. In our case, we had to respond to a whole industry of companies that historically we really did not serve, quite frankly. I mean, we would, partner with SBDC, but we didn't have a history or expertise in serving what I call Main Street businesses, restaurants, storefronts, things like that. So we had to change really fast to serve the community, which is what we do every day. So I don't think that, I think our innovation came, and it's not just for our organizations, but also for the corporations and organizations that we partner with. I think the innovation came in not what we were doing, but how we had to do it. We still made the connections, we still had the opportunities, but how did we do that? So for example, Invest Atlanta put out an RFP for technical service providers because they had CARES Act money. And with that, the companies received vouchers, and they could go to these technical service providers and get specific services. So the Enterprise Innovation Institute at Georgia Tech, we responded, and we were one of the, along with SBDC, and I think the Urban League with Nancy's group, but there were a number of service providers that were selected by Invest Atlanta to provide this technical assistance. It was a whirlwind. What was supposed to be a 5-month project turned into 5 weeks with several hundreds of companies, all of us just rolling up our sleeves and getting the work done. But at the end of the day, we served the companies, and all of us did. I had a school, I tell this story because it was so compelling to me. I was coaching one of my counseling sessions with a woman who owns a Montessori school, and she'd been in business 4 years over in Highland Park, I think it is. And she didn't know about any of these services, period, let alone the fact that she was on the brink because of COVID, losing her school and her parents. And she just broke down, of course, crying, and like, I didn't even know this existed. And so when you touch communities like that, and when you touch businesses, and we know, I think about it, very few of our companies close doors, but boy, are we pulling them along, and then we have a whole set of companies, because they were in the cloud and working remotely anyway, they were able to keep moving even faster. And so again, I think that's the major point I wanted to make was our innovation with our corporations and organizations came in how we delivered stuff, not necessarily what we delivered. I did want to mention one thing that happened, actually 2 things that happened to us last year. One was MBDA awarded Georgia Tech a grant to do a pilot program. It's called the Southeast MBDA Inner City Innovation Hub. So we partnered with the Morehouse Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center with Dr. Tiffany Bussey, and we partnered with a small business called Pernology Global, Lakeisha French, who is a small business, but she does global work around entrepreneurship and innovation and things like that, to figure out how to connect all of these ecosystems throughout the Southeast, because in what we're calling city cities. So we're focusing on Atlanta first. How do we connect all of these ecosystems, and then we're going to move out? And so that was really, that's going to be innovative because it's never been done before. So it's a clean slate, and we're putting together a living lab now. So feel free to reach out to me later, because we're looking for people to participate in our living lab. And then the other thing is that I think happened, Alan, is, last year was a big year for a lot of reasons, not just COVID. Black Lives Matter, a lot of things just exploded last year. And so as a result, all of us experienced quite a bit of elevation and attention, for our organizations and our communities around how we can, be more inclusive and how they could participate. And so, we had a really big company, SE Connections, SEC, come to us and say, they really wanted to identify contractors. They're a utilities company. They do a lot of work with, Atlanta Gas and all those kind of folks. So, and so now we're planning a week-long, matchmaking, one-on-ones with director of procurement. She's going to just block 3 hours of her day every day, just meeting with companies one-on-one that we're giving to her. That's kind of different, because for them to block a whole day. is pretty different. And then I'll say this last thing, in innovation, the pivot, if you will, to the online platforms that allow us to do the conferences and the matchmaking. Corporations have been utilizing and have been very supportive in helping many of our organizations utilize those platforms so that we can continue to do what it is that we've been doing. But it has been a whirlwind for all of us. When PPP hit, even before we worked with Leona, we went through 300 companies just like that, just answering questions, just doing the work on the ground that's necessary to keep our companies moving.
This is so. You brought up something, Donna, that I'd love to also hear feedback from Stacey and Leona on, and I recognize that in a lot of places in our country, as we talked about racial equity and social justice, and how that has been a more awakened conversation for some. For others, it's probably like, come on, man, it's been about time. We've been asking for this. So just recognizing the awakening for some and the kind of resources and the efforts that have been underway. I would love to hear from both you, Stacey and Leona, because I hear it from Donna very clearly, the outreach aspect and people saying, hey, we want to do some more. How has that happened with regard to the work that you do? I mean, how many folks have been reaching out, and maybe some of the ways in which they've wanted to engage that might be new as a result of this charge and this moment that we're facing in our country?
I will tell you that it has been unprecedented activity, nonstop activity as a result of that. It's all good. It's all good stuff. And so we're a little overwhelmed with all the attention that's come around it. But the good thing around this is there's added focus and attention. You've seen corporations come out and make commitments around. I had a conversation this morning with a corporation that's made some new commitments around. They're going to spend X amount, $500 million with Black businesses over the next 3 to 5 years. You're seeing lots of that, which is all good. What you're seeing is a flood. I think one of my peers mentioned, we're going to run out of Black businesses because everybody, I said, that's a good problem to have.
No,
Depending on the industry and the sector, it could be a possibility. But so it's all good attention.
Yeah.
Talking about a moment in time that we need to all work together and come together with a strategy for long term, because over time things tend to change, and so we've got to be intentional about all the actions and the things that we do right now. We're seeing new corporate members. We're seeing an increase on spend and wanting to spend with minority and Black businesses. We're seeing elevated events. I've got a conversation with an organization about everybody's launching a program and initiative around this to do their part. It's all good.
It really is.
It's strategic around the execution and our actions around it. So all good stuff. It's busy as heck. I'm just telling you, it's busy. My staff is complaining. I told them they got between midnight and 5 a.m. What you doing?
That's funny. That's funny. But Stacey and Donna really have told the story quite well. There are new initiatives, new commitments that have come out of this. But I want to point something out that many people may not think in terms of, Black Lives Matter and just people wanting to be seen and heard, and making sure that people know that they're there, that they exist. It has been helpful. I'm going to say for me, and I suspect it has been helpful for Donna and Stacey also, because we work so hard that sometimes we may forget that those people we are working for is a microcosm. It's just a small group of all of those that need. There
absolutely.
are so many people out there that need help, that need assistance, similar to the woman that Donna mentioned, that don't know where to go.
Yes.
So I think it has caused an awakening for us as organization leaders, and an awakening for the Black middle class, the awakening pop for the upper Black families and people, because it's a reminder that this still exists. It exists, and definitely was an awakening for a number of our Caucasian brothers and sisters, and that's just a reality. We all have to step outside of our bubble and really take a look past our immediate tunnel to see who's hungry, who's starving, who needs help, that really they're not that far away from where we are. They really are not that far away. And so I think when we look at this entire Black Lives Matter and all that has occurred, no one, and this is, I will say thank you to COVID for this. COVID has not been totally bad, because had we not all been home, some of us would not have seen George Floyd. Had we not been home, we would not have seen the gentleman at Wendy's. Had we not been home, it would not have played over and over and over. And we could have said, I didn't see that. You cannot exist in this life right now and say you don't know, you don't understand, because you've seen, you've heard, not only from the victims, and the victims come in different shapes and sizes, but from the people that have been marching and saying, see, this is what we're talking about. This is what we've been experiencing. Now you see. So that's what I love about everything that has happened. And that may sound strange, but I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It created an awareness.
Yes.
More of an awareness out of this.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
I know we have to go to questions, but one of the things that I want to say about the innovation piece, and to all of the people online, Emory, because I know this is focused with Emory, is that we will not go back. In my opinion, we will not go back.
Correct. That is correct.
We are marching forward in a new normal.
Correct. Yes.
I remember listening to the guy who just bought Taco Mac, Leona. Herman, what's his name? Man, he just bought Taco Mac not too long ago. But anyway, I was listening to him speak, and one of the things he said, he put it in a historical context, and he said, he talked about the Depression, 2008, World War I, COVID. And what he said, with all of these things are actually market disruptors. And, I see COVID from an institution, Georgia Tech perspective, our perspective, it's a market disruptor. And so when something disrupts the marketplace, it doesn't just disrupt businesses, it disrupts our institutions of higher education, how we teach out, how we move forward now, how we teach is going to be different, right, Emory? Yep. I know, because we probably all have kids at home doing long distance learning. So all of that, we don't operate in a tunnel, again, there's these ecosystems, and some overlap, most overlap. We're not as totally siloed as we think we are. And so I would just like to, leave that word, that it's really exciting. I mean, it's an exciting time. A lot of work notwithstanding. I know we've got back our driving time, but we feel that with meetings like this and conversations like this that'll help us all move forward.
And his name is Harold Martin Jr.
Thank you. Harold Martin Jr. I couldn't think of his name, but yeah, he talked about it being a market disruptor. And I thought about it that way. I went through 2008 with a lot of businesses, and a couple of our companies closed. And one of the last things I always say is, it made me realize, we talk about small businesses or minority businesses or businesses, whatever. But, these companies feed families.
That's exactly right. It's about
thousands of
jobs. It's about jobs.
They buy cars, they buy houses. Okay. You have to remember now, when you're employing 100 people, you're buying cars, you're buying houses, you're
putting kids through school,
college,
groceries.
So we're, having said all that, I'm looking forward to what the new normal is going to be.
Excellent. Well, we have about 5 minutes left. We'll try to jump on this one question we have, and it kind of piggybacks again off of the conversation around the impact of COVID. You have an entrepreneur who says, "Hey, I own my own business, a small business with 4 employees, independent contractors, and they need some help around some access to resources." What advice would you give that person? And it can kind of be any of you who want to answer on that, but what advice would you give to a person who's trying to move forward in this world we're in?
I mean, I think you would start with the resources you have here, right here. You know, the Atlanta Business League. You can call any one of us. You can go online. I think there's some online resources,
Yes.
like Department of Economic Development and others that have a list of all kinds of resources.
Services.
Small Business Development Center. You know, one of the things I would say to the entrepreneur is that when you do that, just make sure you understand what it is you're looking for in terms of assistance.
Yes.
One of the things that we really, really don't like to see is having our companies just bounce around because they're trying to figure out who can help them and what it is that they need. So I would say just do some research first and be very, kind of targeted with what it is, resources you're looking for. What is it that you're really looking for? And then if you land with one of us and we don't provide that, we can probably tell you where it is, probably. And if we can't, then we'll try to help you figure out where it is, So
I will tell you, typically when people say resources, it's typically money. And so there are lots of grants and funds out there available depending on your industry or where you are. I know I saw the end of the chat, it said they're 1099 employees. PPP round 2 or PPP round 1 actually may still be an option for you. You may have leveraged that, but we have a resource page on our website. I know all of us have resource pages you can go scour, but you got to know what you need and then be prepared to do the work to get what you need, because there is going to be some effort involved.
there are a lot of, we've seen a proliferation of grants.
Yes.
Since COVID. Before, grants were really kind of in the nonprofit
they're everywhere.
world, but now, though, they're in the business world now. So there's just quite a bit of grants out there as well.
Absolutely. Bunch.
And I agree with both of you all. And as it relates to the grants, typically once you completed one, it's a repetition.
Save it.
As it relates to completing the other. So, go through that, with applying for PPP and also the SBA loan. That in and of itself really has been indirectly a blessing for some business owners, because it causes you to go and to pull all of those documents together that you may not have pulled together. The hope is that you have an accountant or someone on staff to do that for you. But if you don't, it will cause you to pull those documents together, which is wonderful, because then you will be prepared for the next opportunity that comes along.
Wow. Well, thank you for that answer. And we're running short on time. So let me just say this. Thank you, Stacey Key, Leona Barr-Davenport, and Donna Ennis for your wonderful comments this evening. Hope the audience enjoyed it as much as I do. I want to go to all of your websites immediately and figure out what resources I can use personally and professionally, because I can see how much wonderful work you guys are doing. And those in the audience, please follow up with them. If you have questions about the work or the things you heard today, their websites, their organizations are out there. Feel free to follow up because that could be a great opportunity for you to continue to move forward in your own work. So again, with that, I just want to say thank you. We try to keep on time and run these sessions and be respectful of everybody. So again, thank you for this evening, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening.